The cage opened, and every alien in the arena stepped back. Not because the beast roared, not because the chains groaned, but because the human prisoner stepped forward, looked into the burning eyes of Princess Avara's war beast, and spoke a sentence in a language nobody in the Empire had heard before. They had dragged him from the battlefield 3 cycles earlier, a wounded Terran scout named Jonah Vale. No noble blood, no weapon left, just a cracked helmet, a torn sleeve, and eyes that made interrogators lower their voices. The princess had ordered him displayed before the court as proof that humans were breakable, proof that Earth would soon kneel. Then one general smiled and suggested the oldest punishment. Give the human to Karun, the war beast. Karun was not simply an animal. He stood 3 meters at the shoulder, plated in dark violet scales, with 6 molten eyes, horns scarred by war, and a tail tipped with a blade grown from his spine. He had crushed rebel kings and carried monarchs into battle. He obeyed only royal blood, and even then, only when rage allowed it. Avara watched from her balcony, trained to rule through fear. Then the human spoke, and the monster stopped. One claw remained raised, one growl died in its throat. And silence swept through the arena like frost over steel. Jonah touched 2 fingers to his chest, lowered them toward the beast, and spoke again. The translators around the nobles' throats crackled uselessly, but the beast lowered his massive head until his scarred snout hovered inches from Jonah's face, and answered with a rumble so deep the marble seats hummed. For the first time, the court saw uncertainty cross Avara's face. Karun did not answer priests, trainers, kings, or commanders. Karun answered only hunger, chains, and blood. Yet here he was, speaking back to a human prisoner like an old soldier, hearing a forgotten call sign. "What did you say to him, human?" Avara demanded. Jonah looked up, blood drying on his cheek, and said, "I said hello." The nobles laughed, because it sounded ridiculous. Then Karun turned all 6 eyes toward them, and the laughter died. "What did he say back?" she asked, quieter now. Jonah looked at the beast, then at the princess. He said, "You wear his rider's crown, but you do not know his name." No one moved. The royal historian dropped his data slate. The beastmaster went pale, and Avara's fingers tightened around the rail. Karun was a title, not a name. Every throne beast had been called Karun for centuries, a symbol passed from ruler to ruler. But Jonah stepped closer, placed his palm between the creature's eyes, and whispered, "Old friend, how long have they kept you in chains?" That was when the chains broke, not because the beast pulled, but because he remembered he could. The first chain snapped like glass. The second ripped from the stone wall. The third tore loose with half the arena floor attached. Guards raised plasma lances, nobles screamed, and every turret locked onto the creature. But Jonah lifted one hand, and the beast froze. Trembling from the effort of choosing restraint, a human prisoner had calmed the Empire's sacred monster, and every lie they believed about humanity began to crack. Jonah turned to Avara and said, "Your ancestors stole him from a dead world, didn't they? They found his kind after the Starfire War, took the hatchlings, broke them, bred them, renamed them, and called it tradition." The historian shook his head. Because the archives held a sealed century no royal child was allowed to study. Avara descended into the arena alone. She looked at the beast, not as a weapon, but as a living thing carrying grief in his bones. "What is his name?" she asked. Jonah pressed his forehead to the beast's snout and answered, "His name is Theric of the Red Valley, last son of Ash and Storm, oath-bound to no throne that cages him." The beast made a sound like thunder remembering rain. Then the arena doors exploded inward. Imperial security stormed in, black armor, kill orders. No hesitation if the beast became free. They would destroy him, and if the human knew royal secrets, they would erase him. Plasma fire filled the arena. Jonah should have died in the first volley. He did not, because Theric moved. The war beast covered him with his body, scales swallowing fire, horns lowered, claws carving trenches through marble. He struck once, and an armored squad vanished into the wall. But when a sniper aimed at the princess, Jonah saw it first. He shoved Avara aside and took the shot through his shoulder. The princess fell hard, stunned, because a human enemy had saved her life. That was the moment everything changed. Avara rose with human blood on her hand. She looked at her generals, then at Theric, then at Jonah, shaking but unbroken beside the beast. And when the captain shouted for permission to execute the prisoner, the princess drew her blade and placed it against his throat. "The first soldier who fires again dies by my hand," she said. And the court learned that mercy could sound more terrifying than war. The battle ended in silence, the kind that comes when history has been caught lying. Avara ordered the chains removed from every beast in the royal pens, ordered the sealed archives opened, ordered the generals arrested. The nobles called it madness. The priests called it sacrilege. But Theric lowered himself beside Jonah, and for the first time in 400 years, a royal war beast chose where to sit, later, beneath the shattered dome. Avara asked Jonah why he had saved her when she had brought him there to die. Jonah looked at the stars and said, "Because humans know what it means to be mistaken for weapons. We have been called primitive, dangerous, emotional, uncontrollable. But when we find another soul in a cage, even one with claws, even one trained to kill us, we still try to open the door years later." When the first treaty with Earth was signed, children asked why Princess Avara trusted humanity before anyone else did. She would point to the red-scaled guardian beneath the palace trees and say, "Because the first human I truly met did not ask what a creature could destroy. He asked what it remembered, and when the galaxy learned that lesson, it stopped fearing humans for their weapons and began respecting them for the mercy that made even war beasts answer."